called Ilakaka, which did not exist 10 years ago. And this is one of the gem dealers that I dealt with in my own inimitable way in the book. So we're heading further south, and there's meat dealers. Now, the big bandits, the big rustlers in the south, rustle zebu. It used to be a rite of passage for a young boy who wanted to impress his father-in-law to, in the darkness of night, come into the enclosure, steal a calf or a cow, and then give it to him the next day as a memento of how industrious he was and how sneaky he was and how he was going to take care of the old man's daughter. But it's big business now, because now the cattle are stolen, and it's incredible what I found out about this. And they all end up on ships going to China. Okay, this man Redmond Abila, he's killed somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,000 people in his quest for zebu. The Bara, the tribes people, the women have their hair like this because originally it was designed so that they wouldn't hear the sounds of gunshots of the authorities chasing, or the other villages chasing their men who were rustling their cattle. So there's a nice tradition. And this is what's happening now. I mean, this is really rampant. Only thin dogs become wild. They make rum. That's a still. There's a pipe that goes through the middle of it. And I tried it, but then I suddenly realized that it didn't throw away the foreshot. So it was probably mostly methanol. So it gets pretty primitive as you go further south. And the tombs get bigger. It's funny, as people get poor, they're monuments to their dead. That is some crazy rituals when people die. They have something called fadeahi, which is called the turning of the bones. So they dig up the graves every 10 years and they dance with the bones. They dress them all up and they dance with them. Which is why every 10 years they have an outbreak of bubonic plague in various reasons, because that's where the plague lives. So anyway, the banditry has gotten so bad they're even disinterring skeletons for their calcium and turning them into tablets. That's how bad that's getting. So now we're down in Toliara and Ifati, and lo and behold, I didn't expect this, but the spiny forest there was one of the most exquisite, bizarre places on the planet. I mean, there's trees and shrubs there that are just incredible. There's an entwined baobab. Now this little fellow down at the bottom here gave us a little tussle. He's a cricket, but he's not Jiminy Cricket. He's a poisonous cricket. And I went to pick him up, and the two little boys who were carrying us around, they were like, "Ooh, don't go near him." You know, so. And these are probably two of the last sportive lemurs in this park, in the world, that we managed to track that down. So then we flew to the north, almost done. And the north was an old bandit hideaway. It was a pirate utopia, because that's where the pirates went when they got kicked out of the Caribbean. When Woodes Rogers became governor of the Bahamas, okay, he set down on these guys, and instead they heard about Aurangzeb and the Mogul ships that would go to Mecca every year. So all these guys went around the Cape, and guess what place was brilliant to have for water and for bringing up boats and redoing them? Madagascar. So it was probably the guy who wrote about Robinson Crusoe, Defoe, who wrote this as Captain Charles Johnson, the general history of the robberies and murders of the pirates. But he describes pirates like Thomas Tew, pirates like Henry Avery, who made somewhere in the order of $600 million in one Mogul ship. And anybody know who this is? Captain Kidd. Okay, so this is Captain Kidd in New York. This is Captain Kidd throwing a barrel at his cook and killing him, which is the reason they tried Captain Kidd and the reason they hung him from a garret in England. So all these pirates went to Madagascar on the first and second pirate rounds. And this is the pirate burial ground on Ile Saint-Marie. Rumor had it that there was a city called Libertalia, which a pirate named Mission started, a big city. And that city was supposed to be where Diego Suarez, the northernmost town, is today. In fact, in Diego Suarez, they have a festival every year called Libertalia Festival. So I believe the place existed. This is Jean. Jean's father is from Réunion. He's French, but he doesn't want anything to do with Jean because he was here on holiday when his mother had Jean. And Jean took us to a little town on the other side of Antin-Serana. In that time that he took us there and he came back, he got stopped by 4 police roadblocks and was extorted about $5 a pop each time. So that's 2 days' wages for Jean each time. So we made it up for him. Jean thought I was talking about Somali pirates, because they're now Somali pirates as well as the original pirates, but I wasn't. So we went to this magnificent little village where all these boats were sitting there doing nothing. And yet, they were hauling in nets with little needlefish and squid, and not much more they were bringing in. And the reason is because the boats don't go out anymore. And the boats don't go out anymore because the Chinese fishing fleet chase them every time they go outside their boundaries. In fact, they hire the fishermen, make them work on these boats for nothing. They sleep in cardboard boxes, and then they pay them in frozen fish when it's time to leave, if they can get off. So to learn who rolls over you, simply find out who you're not allowed to criticize. This is one of the more malevolent forms of banditry that goes on. In that village, there was sex tourism. Europeans fly in, and virginity is $20 if you've got $20. Anyway, we left that behind us. We went and we enjoyed the Zegnizo Festival. Kids enjoyed it. And then we decided to go south to the 2 national parks in the north. I was anxious to see Ankarana, and I was anxious to see Montalban, because this was a village they were having a little market. So the roads were terrible. And we went to this place. This is Ankarana, and this is a crested kua. This is a national bird of Madagascar. This was in the room we rented. It's just a tiny little millipede that came out of the towel. I went, okay. So we gave him a pretty wide berth. And then we went to Montalban. Beautiful, beautiful national park. That's my hand. Those are 3 of the smallest chameleons in the world. You just dig around the tree and then you can have a handful of them. Can you see the geckos there? There's one on each of those trunks. They're very well camouflaged. There's his eye. There's his mouth. There's his paws. Okay, so there's the first one. There's his head. There's his paw. See? So hard to find without a guide. And this is one of the last Sanford lemurs in the world. And he looks like he knows it's coming. So I asked our guide that we had in the north, I said, in both of these parks, I said, so how many lemurs are in this park? He said, we have 8 species. I said, okay. And I didn't pursue it. And then we went to the second park, and I said, now how many lemurs have you got in this park? And he said, we have 8 species. And I went, Eddie, how many lemurs have you got? He goes, 20. How many in the other park? 40. So in the northern part of northwest Madagascar, they have 60 lemurs left. Outwit, outplay, outlast. So I didn't want to give you the impression that everywhere we went, we were suffering like the locals, because we weren't. I mean, we were fortunate, right? But when you got out of the pool, so I called the front desk and they sent a plumber, and faster than you get one here, and he arrived with his pipe wrench. And I thought, we're in business, right? And he looks at it and he goes, I'll come back tomorrow. I go, sure, because we're gone. So this is fairly poignant. The most common drink in Madagascar is ranavola, and they add boiling water to toasted rice, and they drink that stuff because it's sanitary, right? But it's also a perfect metaphor for what they've left to the Malagasy. Even the bottom finds something to hold. So we get to Nairobi on the way home, and I was on the floor. I was killing myself as I walked by this sign. It said, have you encountered any corruption? Kidding. Now, I forgot, this is supposed to be an author reading, right? So I have to give you a little reading before everybody falls asleep. This house, sorry, just go to the house first. I didn't know who owned this house. who used to have this house. But as it turns out, it was Major General Gallieni, who invaded Madagascar in 1896 and destroyed everything and killed everybody. So that was a bit hard to get my head around afterwards. Okay, so I'm going to read you an excerpt. As you know, I don't read you anything terribly factual or terribly erudite, because I like to leave that in the book. I read you stuff that's lyrical in a situation like this, so you can read it and it won't tell you anything about the book. So, this is about us forgetting the name of this place and going out for dinner. I had planned a special dinner that evening and had gone to great lengths to raise Robin's expectations of something sublime. This chef, Mariette Andrianjaka, is world-renowned, I had told her, and once served traditional banquets to Marina royalty and other notables. I booked a place from Canada. It's not far from here. We dressed and asked the young lady in the foyer to call for a taxi. "Be careful," she said. "It's dangerous after dark." It was after dark. "Où allez-vous?" asked the cab driver. "Chez Mariette," I said, and watched his eyebrows rise into the rearview mirror. "D'accord," he said. "You never know what she might be serving tonight," I said. "It could be eel or carp or goose with all kinds of rice and vegetable dishes." As our driver went up most of the back streets of Favre-Vitre Hill, they began to narrow considerably, and it began to rain. There were no street lights, hardly any lights of any kind. He finally stopped to ask directions exactly where the famous chef was supposed to reside. The sentry at the entrance leaned over in his plastic raincoat. Mariette had decided not to cook tonight. "Nice of her to let us know," I fumed. Our driver asked us where we wanted to go now. "How should I know?" I sputtered. "I don't have a plan B." Robin asked me if I knew of any other nearby restaurants, and when I told her I didn't, she asked me why I didn't. And that's the way the rest of the evening was destined to unfold.